Stitchy friends, how are you all doing? This is Mieke on Wednesday, January 30th, and I am here with loads of things to tell you and to show you. We are going to talk today, first of all, of course, about our lovely trip to Paris. I have lots of January stitching to show you. I am going to ask you to help me choose the things that I'm going to start in 2019. And then finally, I will save the life updates to the end of this video. How are you all doing? I hope the new year is treating you kindly. I hope you've had good first weeks of the year, and I hope that if you have resolutions, be it stitchy-wise or other kind, that you've managed to stick to them. We are in for another round of snow today. It is around 12:30 here so far. The sky is gray but clear, but the snow is coming later this afternoon. So I am going absolutely nowhere today, and I thought this would be a very good occasion to film my January update. So let's go to Paris. First of all, so many of you asked me in the comments to my last video, how was Paris? Are you going to show pictures? Yes, I will. I have so many things to tell you and so many things to show you. I think I will put all the pictures and stuff that I've taken as a separate bit towards the end of this segment. Otherwise, it will be me talking and you having to look up for a picture and me talking and then. So just grab your stitching. I'm first going to tell you everything and then I will show you the pictures that belong to the stories. Paris was amazing. Fantastic. We had such a great time. It was a perfect way to end the old year and to start the new one. I basically felt like I was walking around in a fairy tale for a couple of days. We went there for a total of 3.5 days. It's 5 hours driving to Paris and then 5 hours back. We spent one day in the city with Mev, our wonderful Flosstube. Mev stitches in Paris, and then New Year's Eve we spent in Disneyland, which was just wonderful. And Paris is one of those cities that had always been high on my wish list. And for some stupid reason, I had never visited it yet. I have traveled a lot throughout Europe in my teens and especially in my 20s. But for some reason, I had always skipped the three big capitals. London, Paris, Berlin. I always went further away than that for some reason. So I had never been to Paris, but I mean, everybody knows the famous pictures and the famous sites. And Paris plays such a central role in our European history. So when the opportunity presented itself, and then when Mev joined in on the fun and said that she wanted to take Patricia and me out to lunch and show us, some bits of the city, just perfect, absolutely perfect. Disneyland is about an hour east to the city center. So we had booked a lovely little Airbnb apartment somewhere halfway in between in the suburbs. And when we arrived on Saturday, Mev and I had a little phone call to, she would give us directions of which metro to take the next morning. And she asked me, are you going to wear something blue so that I can easily recognize you? I said, yes, I have a bright blue coat on. I have a bright blue bag. You will recognize me without problem. And so the next morning, on Sunday morning, we took a metro into Paris. And Mev, being the naughty woman that she is, and knowing that I had never been in Paris, had only given us directions to the metro station Blanche. Little did I know that that metro station exits in front of the Moulin Rouge. Absolutely, absolutely perfect. So, and it was absolutely one of my favorite moments of the whole weekend. Here is a story about the power of Flosstube for you. We exited the metro, we took the stairs to street level, and all of a sudden, you're in the hustle and bustle of, a big city like Paris. You see the Moulin Rouge in front of you, you see zillions of tourists, you see the beautiful Parisian building style with the yellow, soft-colored stone and the beautiful French balconies. You look around you, you try to, navigate where you are, you try to find a familiar face in the crowd. And then there was Mev, walking towards us with an enormous smile on her face. And as I walked towards her, just without a single doubt, we opened arms and we hugged each other tight like we were old friends, instead of two people, meeting for the first time in real life. That was just magical. That was such a great feeling. Definitely one of my favorite moments of the entire weekend. So we obviously took pictures in front of the Moulin Rouge, the standard, very touristy pictures, but fun. And then Mev took us into Montmartre, the artistic neighborhood of the city. And she took us out to lunch in this very stylish, beautiful Parisian restaurant. And what I learned that day is that for French people, Sunday lunch is a big thing. It's something that you do with your partner or with the entire family. And it is a 3, 4, or even 5-course meal. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, Sunday lunch involves a lot less food than that. But it was, it was great. I tried foods that I had never tasted before. Our waiter was the most amazing guy. He was a slightly older man, very stylishly dressed, very posh, a very stylish French mustache. He made, great fun with us. And while the restaurant filled up around us and while we were going through the courses, we talked about everything. Paris, France, the Netherlands, the upcoming stitching retreat in April that Mev is attending as well. We talked about stitching and about Flosstube. It was surreal. It was so, so much fun. And then after lunch, Mev took us on a walking tour throughout Paris. We first went up all the stairs towards the beautiful Cathedral of Sacré-Cœur, which is the highest point in the city. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on my channel before, but one of my favorite things to do when I'm on holiday or city tripping is visiting churches, visiting cathedrals. I love to do that. So, I had lots of good moments in Paris. And when you exit the church, you have this beautiful view over the city. It was a cold grey day, a bit like this, but also there was a little bit of mist in the air. It gave it a very, very atmospheric feel to it. And in the distance, you could see the Eiffel Tower, and right in front of us, down in the city center, you could see the outline of Notre Dame and all these other famous buildings. Beautiful. Mev then guided us down. She took us through one of her favorite African neighborhoods, super colorful, beautiful people. We were literally the only 3 white girls walking through the neighborhood. Very impressive. And then around 4:35, when it was getting dark, she asked us, would you like to go, into the old city center to see some more? So we were like, yes, let's go. So we took a metro. About 20 minutes later, we exited it and we were, bam, in the old historic city center. It had gotten completely dark by then. The city lights were on, and they were, not the bright white TL lights, but they were these beautiful, soft yellow lights, which gave it so much atmosphere. And the mist had come down a little bit more, so it was a little foggy, and it was gorgeous. We visited another beautiful church, a neoclassical one called Madeleine. Then Mev took us through some of the posh shopping streets of Paris, Louis Vuitton, that sort of stuff. Not that we entered, of course, but it's nice to see. We then walked through the Tuileries Gardens. We crossed the River Seine on one of the famous bridges. And as we were standing in the middle of the bridge, on one side you could see the lit up silhouette of the Eiffel Tower. And when you would look to the other side, you could see the illuminated facade of Notre Dame. Gorgeous. We walked a little bit on the other side of the riverbank. We crossed back, and then we ended our day at the Louvre. And that is a magical place. I have no other words for it. There's something about that place. Of course, the famous glass pyramid, the entrance, and that big centuries-old courtyard that surrounds it. And you just feel as you are walking over the centuries-old street tiles, you can just sort of feel that you are in a very important place and that you are surrounded on all sides and beneath your feet by centuries upon centuries of beautiful artworks. Oh man, it gave me goosebumps. We obviously didn't enter the Louvre. We didn't have time for that. It was by then around 8 p.m. But what we did do is that on the outside of the Louvre buildings, there was a beautiful cafe restaurant. And they had the terrace heaters on so we could sit outside. And we sat down at a table. We ordered hot chocolate for the three of us. And we spent, I think, another lovely hour there talking about stitching and Flosstube and, you know, the retreat and how we could maybe keep Mev with us a little bit longer so we could show her, you know, some bits and pieces of the Netherlands when she's here. And all the while, when we were sitting there, we were looking at the Louvre entrance, and if you would look around the pillar, you could still see the Eiffel Tower in the distance. I kept pinching myself. I thought that I was dreaming. It was so surreal. It was so much fun. And when we said goodbye, we said to each other, you know what? Here's a good idea. If we manage to stick to our stitching goals this year, especially me, if we manage to do so, we will reward ourselves by the end of the year by going back to Paris. And then we're going to spend a full week there. And Mev was immediately up for the idea. So yes, that is going to be my reward if I stick to my stitching plans. And now I'm even more determined than I already was. That was the Sunday in Paris. And then Monday, yep, I bought the Disney ears. Moving the camera a little bit back so you can probably see them. Yes, I could not resist. Sleeping Beauty's castle on the one ear and then the Eiffel Tower on the other ear. And of course they're blue. New Year's Eve, we had tickets to the New Year's Eve event in Disneyland. And another magical evening. Disneyland Paris opened, I believe, in the early 90s when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I had always wanted to go. And when we walked there, I felt like an 8-year-old. I was, you know, all giddy and excited. And it's so funny to feel like that when you are surrounded by actual 8 years old. In front of us, there was a family walking of 3, mother, father, and their daughter, and she was dressed in this so super sweet Belle costume, the big yellow dress and everything. Super cute. We could enter the park at about 5 p.m. and then the event would last until 1 a.m. after midnight. So there was plenty of time for us to visit the park and to enjoy the rides, so we did. We went into the Pinocchio. We of course started with "It's a Small World After All." Beautiful, and yes, indeed, the song, sticks in your head for at least another week. We had the Peter Pan, which was great. Pirates of the Caribbean, which was beautiful. And let me tell you, this girl went into a proper roller coaster. And I hate roller coasters. It's not my jam. Patricia loves roller coasters. I have visited, roller coaster parks in my teens. But I think the last time that I was actually in a roller coaster, that may have been 15 years ago. I was around 18, 19, maybe 20. And it's just not for me. I like going fast, but first of all, I'm afraid of heights. That doesn't help with the whole going up the hill. I don't like being tossed around in my cart, and I definitely don't like loopings. No, not for me. But Patricia talked me into it, and she said, Mika, there is this Indiana Jones ride here, and it is super cool. I promise you, it doesn't have loopings. Let's do this. And I was like, you know what? This is a crazy weekend. I'm gonna do something crazy. So we entered the line. The park was, thank God, not super busy, so the waiting lines were short everywhere, which was great fun. And when it came to our turn, we were, of course, in the front seats of the cart. There were, 3 rows of 2 seats. We were in the front cart, so I could see every little darn thing. I could not hide behind, a big man's shoulders. I could see everything. And as we were rolled out of the station and up the hill, I looked down beside me. Nothing. Just one big, dark abyss. Patricia was laughing on the other side of me. I held on to the closer bars for dear life. We went up, and then poof, down, and up again, and poof, down, and oh man. And then towards the end of the ride, all of a sudden, out of nothing, what appeared? You guessed it, a looping. Now, Patricia had not been lying. She honestly did not know that there was a looping in this ride. And the funniest thing was that as we approached it, I could hear her screaming on the other side of me, "Oh, I am so sorry." And then the ride was over. It was fun. It was fun. I definitely came out of it with shaky hands and on wobbly legs, and I don't think I'm going to do it again anytime soon. But it definitely gave me a huge adrenaline shot that lasted me all throughout the night, which was cool. I think about somewhere around 8 or 9, we had a big Disney parade in the center square. We had very good spots. We stood up the ramp towards Sleeping Beauty's castle, this beauty right here, and so we could see over the crowd, and we could see all the princesses and the villains and the princes and the sidekicks, and it was great. And then at midnight, there was also a big firework in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. And as we were standing there waiting for, the clock to strike midnight, we looked at each other and we said, you know what? This is probably a place that we're not going to come back to anytime soon, because as much fun as it is, it's not exactly a cheap experience. It's worth it, but, it's not something that you would do every year. And we're not going to come back here anytime soon. 2018 has been a difficult year for the both of us. You know what? When that clock strikes midnight, we are going to shrug 2018 off our shoulders. We are going to drop it on the floor here. And when the fireworks are done, we are going to turn around and we are going to walk down Disney Main Street into a new year. And we're going to leave the old year behind. It was purely symbolic, of course, but it definitely felt like that. It was a really, really good move and a perfect way to end the old year and to start the new one. So that was my Paris Tales. And now before I forget, I have to show you the beautiful gifts that Mav got me. First of all, she made me this beautiful blue scissor fob. Gorgeous, right? And secondly, she gave me a skein of Parisian silk. This is Celeste by Soie d'Alger, which she pronounces 100 times better than me. If you like listening to French and you're not already following Mav, go ahead. Mav Stitches in Paris, linking everything down below. But look at that beautiful thread. I'm going to put this into a very special piece someday. So that was Paris and Disneyland. And I am going to put some pictures in here, and then we're going to move to stitching.
Paris, baby! And here's Mav! Yay!
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I did, I definitely did. So let's go to stitching. If you've been following me on Instagram, you already know that I did quite some new starts around the new year and in the new year. The first one of which is this beautiful Sampler Cove piece, Kaleidoscope Flower. This had been in my stash for a while. And when we had our final meetup of the year at Borduurparadijs, our LNS, I, wanted to grab the opportunity to start something new. And I was going through my stash and I thought, hey, this might be a nice little piece to kit up. It's not super big. I think it's about 185 by 185. And I had been wanting to give 40 count fabric a try. And I had a little bit of that in my stash, so I thought this might be a nice, good combination. So I took the pattern and the fabric to the LNS. I chose some of Joke's hand-dyed threads, the Paradijsgaren. And then once I got back home, I went with an entirely different fabric and entirely different threads. As Vonna would say, evolving ideas, evolving ideas. I definitely liked the threads that I had picked at Joke's. For the Dutchies among us, I picked Hofvijver, the beautiful dark blue, dark green threads. But I didn't like how it played off against the fabric. I wasn't entirely happy with the coverage. So in the end, I went with an XTU design fabric and my beloved Glorianas. And here is what I've done so far. This is 40 count turquoise sky, beautifully variegated fabric, very pretty. And these Glorianas, this is Gloriana's Holiday Blue. I mean, it should have been called Mika, right? Gorgeous. It goes from really royal blue. It is as bright as you see it here. It's more of a tonal variegated thread. It goes from darker to lighter and then to this beautiful medium blue. I have to say I like stitching on 40 count. I definitely like that it saves you a lot of thread, but I'm not sold on it yet. I might still prefer 36 count over 2. Or 2 over 2, sorry, more. But this is a very nice experience. I've done quite a bit already. This is the center, and this is the left edge of the fabric. So it circles around here. So if I have spaced everything right, I won't even need to move the Q-snap to finish it. I love this. It stitches up very quickly. That's another thing I like about 40 count. The stitches are, of course, tinier, even though it's just, half a millimeter or so. But it stitches up very quickly. Only one thread, of course. Yeah, man, this is gorgeous. This is a piece that I already know that I want to get framed. Love it. That was my first start, even though it was an old year new start, because I started it on December 27th or 28th. Into the new year, I got to my planned New Year new starts. First of which is, of course, Nora Corbett's Bluebell. I love her. She is a super relaxing piece to stitch. And the colors and the shading that Nora chooses just wonderful. Here's what I've done so far. This is her waist. This is her beautiful dress going down. And I have once again entered the adventure of 1/1 skin. This is 32 count vintage marmor by Zweigart. I thought it would be a really nice fit for the piece. This very, very light, pale, ice blue white. Good description, Mika. This is DMC, oh darn, I don't have it here. From the top of my head, I think it is DMC 3756. It looks like you know, it looks like ice, a bit like that. And I love how you can see it against the fabric, but it also blends in a little bit. Loving her. She is a very, very relaxing piece to work on. And Dunja, Passion for Crafting, has already asked if I'm going to bring this piece to the retreat with me, and I will definitely do that. My second New Year New Start was Winter Quakers by Rosewood Manor. And let me tell you one thing, this picture is once again a picture that does not do the stitched up piece any justice, because this is washed out, and you will see what I mean when I show you the actual fabric and the threads. This picture is gorgeous already, but the stitched up thing is much brighter and much more vivid. I started in the top left corner. I have finished this motif and I'm working on this one. Let me show you how far I got. Do you see what I mean? This is 28 count cashel in Picture This Plus Dwarf. And these are the corner motifs. I'm stitching this in the called for Valdani threads. And as you can see, they are beautifully variegated. I have to be honest that I need to get used to stitching with Valdanis. What I did quite quickly already is because you stitch with them as they come off the spool. They are a 3-ply thread, floss. You know what I mean? And with the 3 strands, they are quite thick. So I've changed to a size 24 needle, whereas normally I would stitch with 26. And 24 goes really very well. It goes well with the 28 count cashel. It goes very well with the Valdanis. So that helps. And this is what I've done so far. It requires quite a bit of attention. So this is something that I can stitch on, you know, when my head is in a good space. But whenever it is, I like to get this out and work on it for a little bit. This is gonna be beautiful. And because it is so much brighter and much more vivid than the actual cover piece, I am super curious and super excited to see how this is going to look. Wonderful. And then I had a 4th new start. And as happens quite often, I'm going to blame Latisha, the crafty curator, for this. I totally fell down the rabbit hole of the Linen and Threads Mystery Sampler 2019, which is called Peacock Garden. What's a girl gonna do, right? But I'm stitching this entirely from stash. The pattern is free. I had the fabric, I had the threads, and I have already finished the January part. Boom! Here is my beautiful January peacock. Isn't he gorgeous? This is a Silks for You thread, color PR103. I'll show you the hank in a second. And I'm stitching this in Latisha style, meaning that you first stitch the outline of a figure, for instance, the peacock's core, and then core, is that a word? The body. Let's go with the body. And then the wings, one bit. Hello, wings. Yeah, yeah. Feathers, Mika. The proper word is feathers. Oh boy, it's one of those days. Going back on topic, you go for the outline of a feather and then you fill it in. I had never done that before, but I love the effect that it gives. This is fun. And again, it's a free start. So all of you who are joining me in Stitching from Stash, this is a goodie. It stitches up really nice. The pattern is beautiful. Go to the Linen and Threads website, linenandthreads.com. I will link it down below. And there you can find it. And if I'm not mistaken, this coming Friday is February 1st. Yeah. So part 2 is on the way. This is the same fabric as I'm using for Bluebell. This is 32 count vintage marmor Murano, and I love how the thread plays off it. And let me show you the skein. This is PR103. My camera has trouble with this because it is super bright. That's about it. It's a little more green than you see here. It shows up very electric blue. It's a little bit more muted than that. And here down here down before it goes into dark blue is beautiful tealish green. Yes, happy with my threads. So thank you, Latisha, even though I blamed you, but thank you for talking me into this one. I'm having a lot of fun with this. And then I worked on 2 more pieces in January. Both are Yoke Trebbe de Nijs patterns. About a week ago, yeah, I visited Borduur Paradise with my mom. Bonus, I didn't buy anything. I was super proud of myself. I didn't buy anything, even though Yoke had 2 new patterns out. But I managed not to spend a dime. I was impressed with myself. But of course, after we visited the shop, I was, very inspired to take out Yoke's patterns again. So first up, I worked on the Veluwe, the pattern that Yoke gifted Patricia and me after our visit to them in October. This down here and this up here is the edge of page 1. And the pattern has a total of 4 pages, so I'm going very well. Yoke has teased us tremendously. She said during our meetup in December that she will not release Veluwe until one of us has finished it. So no pressure, huh? No pressure at all. I think she's just teasing because when I was in the shop with my mom last week, I saw that she already has part 2 for Veluwe out already, as in, fully designed and ready to be printed. But this is page 1 almost. Stitching this in the threads that I dyed myself, peacock feathers. See, I do know the word. I do know that it's peacock feathers. This is a lovely stitch. It stitches up very quickly. And also I was drawn back into my birthday gift, Bocholt 2. Yoke showed the model stitch of this one. The model stitcher had finished it when we visited the shop last week. She has stitched it in the called for colors, which is a lot more pink than the conversion that I'm doing on it. But it's gorgeous, and bonus points, Bocholt 3 is ready as well. I need to find more stitching time, definitely. I have completed in the last week the center of it. This is 35 count pale blue by Extra Design, flow by Even Weave. And this is my conversion of the colors. I went with a very springtime feel. These are the 4 threads that go in the design. The variegated one here is the one that you see in the center motif. It's called Krokussen, and then the other 3 are the colors that make up Krokussen. Bosviooltjes, Dille, and Straw. That was all the stitching that I did in January. Quite a bit. Feel good about it. And to give you a stitch from stash update, I'm doing good. I'm pretty proud of myself that I have not already caved in the very first month of the year, even though the temptations have been absolutely everywhere. There was, of course, the visit to Borduur Paradise last week. Oh, I was immediately tempted by Yoke's newest designs, but I managed to stick to my plans. I didn't buy anything. I was majorly tempted by Satsuma Street's latest design. She has been working on 4 season samplers, and the last one to be released was Invierno, winter. And I saw in the sneak peeks that she put out that she was using some of my favorite DMC threads, among which the beautiful color variations 4022, the one that I use in my modern folk embroidery piece. And then when she released the piece this weekend, she also threw in a sale on the Etsy page. I had to sit on my hands not to buy it, but I managed to not buy it. Bonus points for me. The only purchase that I did was I supported a good friend of ours from the retreat, Deborah, who has started to make and sell needle minders. Her Etsy shop is called Surimini. I'm linking it down below. Please give it a visit. Deborah is a lovely girl. She is in Belgium, so the shipping is especially good for us European stitchers. The minders that I've bought have not yet arrived, so I can't show you. You'll probably see them pop up on Instagram in the coming days. But yeah, I made a purchase to support a friend, and I thought that's a good enough reason. So I'm doing well on Stitch from Stash. I'm still a little bit worried about what I am going to spend during retreat, but we will worry about that when we get to it. Let's do that. That was the stitching update. Now let's move to the third part of this video, which is all of this. This is going to be fun. In this tub are all the projects that I have fully kitted up. There are 17 projects in here, and they are kitted up to the point where I just need to pop the fabric in a Q-snip and I'm good to go. And it's not a given that I'm going to start all 17 this year, because that's quite a bit, but I'm going to show you everything that I have, and I'm going to let you decide what are going to be my 2019 starts out of these. I'm going to show them to you, and I am going to ask you to give me your top 3. So by the time that I've shown everything, please tell me what are the top 3 starts that you would like to see me do out of these this year. Number 1 is a Works by ABC pattern. And if you've seen my November update, you know what I'm talking about. Insert picture here. That is the beautiful 6 pages from 1603. And I'm going to stitch that on the fabric that we dyed during our visit with Joke and Jan. My 28 count peacock feathers. And these are the 2 Glorianas that I've picked. This is Purple Night Sky, beautiful purple. This is Gloriana's Deep Blue Sea. And the green is going to be used on the border, and the purple is going to be used on the flowers. The purple shows up a little bit too saturated here. It's not as boom, almost neon. But that is, yeah, that's about right there. That's planned new start number 1. Works by ABC. Number 2 is an ink circles design. The beautiful woodland vines. This is gorgeous. This has been on my wish list for a long time. Dunja, Passion for Crafting, is working on this beauty as we speak. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, you may remember that in my December update, I think it was, I mentioned that I had placed a big order of Collar and Cotton's Caribbean. That is the thread that I have intended for this beautiful piece. And the fabric that's going to go with it is this beautiful one. This is a crafty kitten fabric called Fairy Forest. It's a 32 count Murano opalescent. See the sparkle? I was contemplating doing it on a dark fabric, as is the model stitch, but I looked at this combination and I thought, oh yeah, that is a very springtime interpretation of woodland vines. Possible start number 2. Possible start number 3 is another ink circles. This has been in my stash for a while, and purely by coincidence, by chance, as I was playing with my threads and my fabrics a few weeks ago, I stumbled upon a great combination. The Birds and the Bees. I've loved this one for a long time. What I have intended for this is, first of all, a beautiful 36 count fabric by Barbarol Creations on Etsy. This is, I need to check it because it is a difficult name. Cecropia Caterpillar. I hope I have not butchered that. I'm sorry, Barbara. Here. Does it focus? No, of course it doesn't focus. Anyway, let's call this Caterpillar. It's a 36 count and the thread is going to be DMC Color Variations 1425. Beautiful greens and teals and a little bit of gray. I think so too. That's possible start number 3, Woodland Vines. Birds and the Bees. Next up, numbers 4 and 5 are Sampler Cove designs. Latisha, pay attention. I still want to do a Sampler Cove sell with you. First up, Double Dutch. This is not my usual type of color choices. Red, orange, little bits of blue, but for some reason I loved this as soon as I saw it. And I bought it when I saw Stephanie from Lindy Stitches work on it. This is gorgeous. And whereas I'm normally very much drawn to color conversions, I'm not gonna change a single thing about this design. I love it as it is, even though it includes an alphabet. Yes, this Dutch stitcher is going to stitch an alphabet for probably the first time in her life. The called for fabric is a Lakeside Linens, very soft yellow. This is 36 count Magnolia. And the called for colors are Glorianas. These 3 beauties. Midnight, Antique Gold Dark, and Rosewood. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Number 5. Oh, and I'm excited about this one. Spanish Blue, also by Sampler Cove. Love this, love this. But on this one, I am going to change the colors. This calls for 2 colors. The dark blue is Gloriana Midnight, the one that I've just shown you. The lighter blue is an MPI Silk. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. But if I'm honest, I find the combination of these 2 a little bit too bland, a little bit boring. So what I am going to do is, and I'm going to invent a new word here, I am going to Caribbeanize this. Now that it's winter and now that we've had snow last week and we're getting more snow this week, I am very much in need of some mental sunshine. And my thoughts have gone to the tropics and to the Caribbean for quite some weeks now. And I was going through my thread stash and I just stumbled upon what I think is going to be a great combination. The fabric is the called for, which is the same as Double Dutch, Lakeside Linens Magnolia. And now here comes the party trick. That is my thread selection. Gloriana's Jewel Turquoise and Threadworks, which is a new thread to me, 11834, which is called either Bikini or Mediterranean. I don't remember off the top of my head, but hey. Does this scream Caribbean or does this scream Caribbean? I think this is going to be a beautiful, very summery combination. Can't wait. That was number 5. Oh, and don't worry, by the way, once I have shown you everything, I will put a sort of slide or picture or list in so that you can see the whole thing again and you don't have to constantly keep up with the numbers and the names. Number 6 is Northern Expressions Needleworks Celtic Snow. This is the oldest kit that I have, apart from my very, very old Leonard kit. I kitted this up early 2015, so I've had this in my possession for 4 years already. And the reason I have not yet dared start it is this. This is Midnight Tryst, hand-dyed fabrics by Stephanie. Gorgeous blue fabric. It shows up a bit more purple here, but it is very dark blue. But you guys, this is dark. This is even darker than the dark purple that I'm using for Alessandro Adelaide. This is super, super dark. But I have the dinky dyes and the beads and the pattern. I still love it. I think it looks absolutely fabulous. So I should just get over my fear and start this. What do you think? Number 7 is another Northern Expressions needlework design. And again, one that has been on my wish list for a very long time. Shades of Blue. This beautiful pattern is going to be a companion piece for Shades of Gold. The one that I am doing a blue color conversion on. Which means that I'm also going to stitch it on 28 count. I have a couple of options. I have not yet decided. This is Summer Sky and this is Caribbean Blue. Both from 1 to 3 stitch. The threads are not here yet. This is the one chart that is not as fully kitted up as the rest. I ordered the dinky dyes for them back in December when Casa Senina had a big sale on towards the end of the year. But there has been a delay and they should be here in about 2 weeks. So yeah, this needs a little bit more waiting time, which is also why I have not made my final fabric decision yet. But the threads are so beautiful. I know that, you will already know that Caroline is stitching on this. Latisha has started it. There are more people who are working on this piece. And yeah, come on, Shades of Blue. I need to have it, right? Number 8 is a Jokertreb with a nice design. Lang patroon. This is a terrible cover image, so let me add in an image of the actual model stitch. I've shared the story about why I bought Lang Patroon and who enabled me, Ali, back in December. So if you want more, go back to that video. This is just charted for DMC. It's charted for 32 count white Murano. All good to go. I just need to put it in a queue snap. The pile next to me is growing very high. Number 9, I know that at least Patricia is going to vote for this, is Satsuma Street's Blue Village. Come on. This screams my name, doesn't it? Just like Celtic Snow, this one has been kitted up for about 4 years now. It asks for just DMC. It asks for dark blue 16 count Ada. I'm good to go. Why haven't I started this beauty already? Look at that. It's so summery and so gorgeous. Trying to make everything fit on the table here. Number 10 is... it's falling apart in the tub here, sorry. Number 10 is a beautiful design by Vintage Tulip Designs in cooperation with our beloved X2 Design. Midsummer Garden. This is a photocopy picture. I'll put in a picture from... No, you know what? I'm going to direct you to X2 Designs Etsy page where you can see this beautiful, beautiful stitch stitched up. These are the threads that it calls for. All beautiful, lovely hand-dyed threads by our wonderful X2 Design. Look at those purples. Gorgeous. I have not made a final decision on the fabric yet. It comes with a fan favorite Rocky Mountain, but I also have this beautiful piece of vintage yellow Zweigart. I found this at our LNS months ago. I have never seen it in a shop anywhere, but I think that especially the purples would really, really, really pop off this fabric. Don't you think? So that is another contender. And if you choose this one, please tell me which fabric you would prefer, the Rocky Mountain or the vintage yellow. Number 11 is a Glendon Place design. I have loved their amazing dessert series for a long time. And when Judith from Judith Makes over on Instagram sold a lot of her charts last year on Marktplaats, which is Dutch eBay, I could not resist this one. This is Parfait. The full name is Rainbow Parfait. Yep. Very pretty. She sold the entire kit, which means fabric. This is Paul Stitch's Pearl, 28 count Brittany Lugana. The beautiful dinky dies that it calls for. The beads. Oh, look at that. Not my usual colors, but I just love again how summery it feels. There's a theme going on here. Can you sense that? I love how bright and summery it is, and yeah, just looking at it makes me happy. That is another one. Then I'm just looking at my notes here. Then we come to 2 Owl Forest embroidery kits / charts. Owl Forest has been a little bit of a thing on YouTube. The first time I saw them was on the channel of our beautiful Mexican friend Yany. Hi Yany. You enabled me, girl. I told you already, but you definitely enabled me. Owl Forest Embroidery is the designer of that beautiful Quaker-like whale. I bought 2 other kits from them. 2 blue kits, of course. The first is this one. Underwater Garden. Beautiful sea sampler. This is how the kits come. Nicely packaged. Fabric, needle minder, threads. This is the fabric, plain blue. And these are the hand-dyed threads. Look at that. Gorgeous, right? It comes with a needle and a needle minder. How sweet is that? That's the first kit, so that is number 12. The second kit is not so much a kit, but it came in parts. The chart is only offered digitally. It's called Birds of Happiness. Yes, that is a peacock sampler. And look at the gorgeous threads. That's stunning, right? How on earth could I resist that? It comes with a very pretty needle minder. And this is the fabric that I picked for it. This is, like I said, not a kit. You get the threads and the chart and the needle minder if you want to. This is 32 count lilac Murano. Oh. I think the threads will look beautiful on that. That was Owl Forest embroidery. Then we go to Heaven and Earth Designs. This one. That's Peacock Fantasy by Anya Kai. Beautiful colors. And I ordered Color Cascade fabric for it because I am sure that those blues and greens would pop off the fabric. This is, oh darn I believe it's Gold Digger. If I'm wrong, I will correct myself in a caption here somewhere. And then last up, numbers 15, 16, and 17 are dimensions kits. First up, the beautiful teal Indian peacock. I've loved this for so long. And when Casa Senina threw their big December sale, this was 25% off, and I couldn't resist any longer. Look at that tail. Oh, gorgeous. Number 16 is upside down. Peacock butterflies. Beautiful. And last but not least, Spring Fairy. This was released last year. She is the companion piece to the more well-known Autumn Fairy that a lot of us are stitching on. Look at those wings. Oh, gorgeous. So, those are my 17 kitted up projects that are possible starts for 2019. I'm going to put in a picture or a list or something here that will give you an overview of everything I've just shown you. Please tell me your top 3. Which 3 projects would you most like to see me start this year? And I'm going to let you guys decide. So thanks for your votes. I am going to take a second to clean up the enormous mess that I've made here. And then I will be back for the last part of this video, which is my life updates. Okay, good to go again. That was just a second for you, and I feel much more comfy with the table empty and organized. Otherwise, it will distract me enormously for the next part of the video, which is life updates. Once again, thank you guys enormously for your kind words and your encouragement and your support and love in response to my last video. That was probably the most difficult video yet. This one is gonna be easier. I still have a lot to tell you and a lot of, things to share. But last one was definitely the most intense one, I think. And thanks for reaching out to me. Thanks for, showering me again in kindness and love. It continues to mean a lot. And there are quite some people who have, reached out and told me that they either have gone through something similar or are going through something similar. I'm thinking of you. I'm sending you a big virtual hug, and I hope that you will take good care of yourself. So life updates over January. I actually have pretty good news to tell you. The first bit of good news is that my iron levels are back to normal. I had my blood tested at the beginning of January, and my iron level is completely to where it needs to be again. I have been allowed to stop with the iron pills, so that is fantastic good news. And I definitely sense it, on a physical level now. I think if I look at myself in the camera, I think, I can sort of see that I'm starting to feel better on a physical level. Loads of you, and also in my private life, have told me over the last weeks, hey, you're starting to look better. And that's good. It feels a little bit like old me is coming back. The second bit of good news is that I have started seeing a therapist in January. And that is intense, but very, 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 very helpful. Back in November, my wonderful coach, recommended to me, Mika, it might be good for you to start seeing a psychologist to help you, really dig through the things that we are uncovering. And remember, if you've seen my November update, you will probably remember that a lot of stuff was coming up from deep down inside me. Many feelings, many thoughts about myself that I had buried for so long, they started surfacing. And when she said that to me, I was a little bit apprehensive at first. I wasn't immediately on board. Seeing a therapist, it sounded very serious. It sounded very heavy, and I wasn't exactly sure. So I gave it a few days to think about it. And then ultimately I decided, hey, you know what? But this is serious stuff. This is me. This is my mental health. This is something serious. And the things that I'm going through now, they are heavy. So you know what? I am going to take all the help that I can get. So I wrote back to her saying, yes, let's do this. She then formally passed on that advice to my company doctor. And when I saw him in December, he was immediately on board. And I have never seen a therapist in my life before. I don't know how these things work. I don't know how that is related to health insurance and that sort of stuff. So I asked him, how does this work? Are there forms that I need to fill in? Is there, stuff that I need to arrange with my individual health insurance? Can you tell me what I need to do? And he then smiled at me and he said, this does not concern your individual healthcare insurance. We have a central budget for this kind of health service. It doesn't cost you a dime. And I was, what? I was flabbergasted. I was not expecting that at all. So that was really, really, really good news. Apparently my company works with a sort of association of psychologists, for lack of a better word. So my company doctor formally contacted them, to set me up with one of their therapists. And it took a little bit of waiting. Of course, there was December and holidays, so it was busy in their office. But 2 weeks ago, I had my first meeting with them and I had my intake. Now, of course, when I went to their office, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I definitely had a couple of questions that I wanted answered. And most of all, I wanted to see, if I would click with my therapist, if there would be a connection. And luckily, we instantly connected. As soon as she opened the door and she shook my hand, I felt at ease, which is, such a blessing. I was so happy about that. So we grabbed tea and coffee and we sat down in her office and she explained to me, this is an intake meeting. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions to get an idea of who you are, what you're struggling with. And then the result of this first meeting is going to be that I write a treatment plan for you. And then that's going to go to you and to the company doctor via email. So, all good, all clear. We sat down. She started asking me questions. And thankfully, I felt completely safe with her. At no point during our conversation did I feel like she was, interrogating me or judging me or, putting a sticker on me or whatever. I felt completely at ease with her, which was so great. So I threw the whole story on the table. No shame, lots of tears, but let's go for it. Not holding back anymore. And about after 30, 40 minutes, she looked at me. She looked down at her notes. She looked at me and she said, I think I know what's bothering you. I think that you have developed some very destructive coping mechanisms over the course of the last few years. And we need to get those out of your system. Boom. I'm still getting, flushed cheeks when I remember that moment. I was okay. All right. And then, of course, she started to explain to me what she meant. And I'm going to take you through the things that I have learned so far from her. Now, bear in mind, I am not a psychologist. I don't have a degree in healthcare. I barely know the proper terms in Dutch, let alone in English. So this is just going to be my words, my story. And I'm going to tell it here, first of all, as, you know, my own video diary. But secondly, also because I know for sure that I am not the only one who struggles with this. And since I have gotten quite a few responses to previous videos that this is helping other people, I hope that this will also help somebody. So this is just, you know, my take on things. To start with the basics, as human beings, our basic primal goal in life is to survive. That is what we are designed for, or in computer metaphors, hardwired for. In order to survive, our brains have a very strong sense of danger. And danger can be anything ranging from like enormous physical danger, living in a war zone, being taken hostage, you know, awful stuff like that, to also the more mental side of danger, living under enormous amounts of stress. When we encounter danger, our brain will try to do up to 3 things. First of all, we try to stay out of dangerous situations. We try to stay safe. Secondly, if we still enter into a dangerous situation, we will try to get out of it as quickly as possible. And thirdly, if we can't get out of the dangerous or extremely stressful situation, we will find ways to endure it. Our bodies, our minds have an enormous capacity for coping, for enduring. And especially our brains will come up with the most amazing but also insane and creative ways of coping with long-term stress. But it's not healthy for you to do that. On the long term, it will damage you. And that damage does not have to be permanent, but it's not good for you to live under long periods of stress. What I have been doing is I have been showing escape behavior in various areas of my life. That has become very apparent now that I have a burnout, now that I'm completely stuck. But as we are probably going to uncover in the months that are ahead of us, I have also developed coping mechanisms to cope with my own negative self-image. The enormous expectations that I put on myself, my fear of making mistakes. I don't allow myself to make mistakes, which is impossible. I'm a human, I'm not a robot, I make mistakes. That's probably all going to come up in the coming months. We will dig quite deep into who I am and how I look at myself, and that's all fine. I'm going to give you one more recent work-related example to hopefully make it a little bit more tangible. The example that I'm going to give you is my long-standing hate relationship with email. I loathe email. That may sound very strange, coming from somebody who loves writing and loves texts, but I find email a very lacking means of communication. It's just text. You have no intonation, you have no facial expression, and in business environments, email is very often cold and harsh and formal. It's bad form to include, emojis, hashtags, informal language. And if you work in a big organization, you will probably recognize that email is often used as a political tool. Email is very often used, for example, if people want to showcase themselves. If you work in a commercial, target-driven organization, you will often see, at least in my country, that people will use email to showcase to everybody how well they are performing. So what I would see happen on a day-to-day basis is that, especially in lower layers of management, people would send a message to 2 or 3 colleagues, and somehow they would feel the need to include half the organization in the CC line. No need for, no action required, but bam, everybody got the email. And the absolute worst of the worst are people who then feel the need to push the reply all button. You deserve a jail sentence. No, I'm kidding. But please, just don't. There's absolutely no need to bombard your coworkers with emails like that. It's just not necessary. Anyway, long story short, I don't like email. And I hope that one of these days, some kind of organization knowledge or organization genius will stand up and present to us the best new way of business communication. I really hope that's going to happen at some point, because email is just, it's not the way to go for me. Anyway, going back on topic. I don't like email, but email was a huge big part of my job. Email management in itself was about a full-time job for me. And I think many of us who work in a demanding office job will recognize that. Managing your email, staying up to date with all the topics that you're responsible for, requires a lot of time and attention and organizing and structuring things. And I like organizing and structuring. I'm a pretty structured person when I'm at work. But over the course of 2018, as I slowly became sick, I lost that ability. It's not lost to me forever, but it is now, when my mind is, not in a good state. So I started fearing my email. I started dreading coming into the office in the morning, firing up the laptop and seeing all the emails of the day flooding in. I started dreading that. And it came to a point where in the last month, while I was still at work, I would avoid that. I could not bear it anymore to see my emails come rolling in. So what did I do? I started showing escape behavior. I would come into the office, I would fire up the laptop, and then I would walk away from my desk, literally. I would go say good morning to all of my coworkers. I would get coffee and tea for everybody. I would tidy up our office space. I would grab every little last excuse that I could find. And then when the excuses were all used up, then I would go back to my laptop and I would face the emails of the day. That is an example of the things that I started doing. And I can very well imagine that you would ask the question right now, Mika, isn't that a little counterproductive? Yes, it is. Mika, didn't you realize that that was not helping you? No, I didn't. Here's the thing. Coping mechanisms like that, they help you in the moment. Over time, yes, they become extremely destructive. But in the moment when I would walk away, it would give me a little sense of relief. The thing is this, when you are this close to collapsing, as dramatic as it sounds, but it's true, you don't stop and think anymore about what you're doing. Your mind has gone into survival mode. And the only question that you have room for in your head is the question, how am I going to get through this moment? That's it. Not even the work day, not even a single meeting, but you go from moment to moment to moment. So, no, I didn't realize that I was not helping myself. But I very much was not helping myself. It's only now, many months later, and having a therapist put a mirror in front of me, that I'm starting to realize that I was indeed not helping myself. And at that point in the conversation, she stood up, she walked to a whiteboard, and she started drawing what looked like a circle. But just before she closed the circle, she started drawing a spiral out of it. A spiral that closed in on itself, on itself, on itself, on itself. She said, "This is what you are in." You may remember that back in my November video, I was talking about the feeling of spiraling down and down and down and down. And back then I didn't have the words for it yet, but that is exactly indeed what I was doing. She explained to me that escape behavior, coping mechanisms that are similar to that, they become very destructive over time because they don't help you at all. They don't solve the problem that you're having. The thing that you're afraid of doesn't go away. You are the one who goes away. In the example of my emails, my laptop wasn't going anywhere. It was sitting there on my desk, just ready for me. I was the one who literally walked away. And the longer I stayed away, the more the tension inside of me would grow. And by the time that I would finally get back to my laptop, when I had used up every little excuse that I could find, I was suffocating on the inside. And she explained to me a key part, and that is that mechanisms like that will fester inside your mind if that behavior goes unchecked. They will grow and grow and grow and grow, and it will come to a point where you are not just afraid of something anymore, but you're also afraid of being afraid. You become afraid of the physical manifestations of fear. The sweaty hand palms, the heart racing in your throat, that awful feeling at the pit of your stomach, you become afraid of all of that. And that hit home with me. I recognized that instantly because yes, that is indeed what I was experiencing. I mean, even as we are sitting here right now, I can feel it. I mean, look at my cheeks. I'm all flushed and warm and my palms are sweating even just talking about it. I had reached a point where indeed I had become afraid of becoming afraid. And then what does your coping mechanism do? It grows to involve not just avoiding the thing that you're afraid of, but avoiding stress altogether. Because it tells you you can't handle stress. And that is, of course, impossible. You can't avoid stress. It's everywhere around us. I mean, look at how we live. I live, let's keep it to myself. I live in a tiny, busy, crowded country by the North Sea. I live in a Western society that is fueled by capitalism, by economy growth, by numbers, by targets, by pressure, by stress. People drive each other crazy all the time, everywhere. At work, at home, in traffic, in the supermarket, online. Stress is everywhere. You absolutely cannot avoid that. But still, your coping mechanism will tell you you need to avoid stress because you can't handle stress. And what that does to your brain is that it puts you in a mental state of constant high alert. You become hypersensitive to your surroundings wherever you are. And you enter a mental state, or state of mind, I should probably say, where you pick up the tiniest little signal that stress might be just around the corner. And when my therapist mentioned that to me, that was it. I so very much recognized that. And it also meant that I had found another piece of the puzzle that is my burnout. Because for the past weeks, I have been wondering, why is my brain still so tired? My anemia is gone. I feel much better on a physical level. I have been off work for 5 months now. But why is my brain still so foggy? Why does it still feel like a piece of elastic that has been completely overstretched? This is why. My coping mechanisms are still the boss of me. My mind is still in that high alert mode. And that is something that I cannot get out of just on my own. So thank God for my therapist. She has written a treatment plan for me after that first meeting. That treatment plan consists of 4 to probably 6 months of cognitive therapy. And she said, I am going to get you out of that circle. It's not going to be easy. You have spiraled quite a bit already, but yes, you are going to get out of it. And if this sounds all too familiar for some of you, I would like to pass on the same encouragement that she gave to me. When she told me, yes, you're going to get out of that, I doubted at first. And I asked her, can I really get out of it? And she said, yes. If I listen to your story, I hear the story of a woman who has been adapting herself to the needs and wishes of others for way too long. I hear the story of a woman who puts way too many expectations on herself. And yet, you are by now 34, and this is the first time in your life that you're actually stuck. That means that you are a lot stronger than you think. And that is a piece of encouragement that I'm, keeping very close here and here. And if you are battling similar things, I would also like to pass that on to you. We are a lot stronger than we think. We have, like I said at the beginning of this segment, an enormous capacity for enduring and for coping. And sometimes we cope way too much, and we can't get out of that by ourselves anymore. So that is my story so far. If you are going through similar things, I hope and wish for you that you have people around you that you love and trust. Share this with them. Share your story with them. And if you can, if you are able, I would definitely recommend you, purely on my own experience, to seek help for that. I feel so safe and at ease with my therapist. And yes, it's going to be difficult, but I have faith that I'm going to get out of this. I have faith that I will be able to tap into happy, bubbly, positive-minded, life-enjoying Mieke, because that is who I ultimately am. And I definitely believe that I can get back to that. It will take time. It will not be an easy mirror to look into every 2 weeks. But yeah, I think after these first 4 or 5 months that I am now finally walking up the hill. So that was my life update. If you're still with me, thank you. Thank you for spending time with me. I hope you have been stitching away happily. I wish you a wonderful rest of January and a wonderful stitchy February. February shapes up to be a very nice month here. I am going to spend some time with Sasha in Munich. And towards the end of February, I am going to spend 2 lovely weeks in my beloved Spain. Can't wait. I will, of course, be stitching, and I will keep you up to date. And we will see each other again next time. Ciao, my friends.